Hi teachers! So I have my student writing in front of me along with my 3 possible tools for analyzing student work. I have the checklist, the learning progression, and the rubric. The language is really the same on each of the tools, but since I'm going to be analyzing an on-demand piece of writing, I'm going to go ahead and choose the rubric because I'm not only going to be looking at where this child falls on the continuum, but I'm also going to use it to assign a value or a score for marking the report card if that's what I choose to do. So remember, I'm going to be analyzing through the lenses of structure, development, and language conventions. So I have a piece of first grade on-demand writing here, and just looking at this piece, I can see that this writer wrote across pages. They drew different pictures to represent information, and even though there's no labels in the pictures, I do see 2 titles or what may be subtitles here that could represent the chapters or sections of their writing. Okay, so now I'm going to look more closely at structure. In first grade, for lead, writers are expected to name a topic and get the reader's attention, as well as supply an ending or a conclusion. So if I look at this student's writing, the writer named a topic, all about whales, and let's see if they got our attention in the first part. Whales are the biggest animals on Earth. The biggest whale is the blue whale. Okay, so I can see that for me, this reader got my attention. It was a fact that they used here in the beginning, but that fact grabbed my attention. Whales are the biggest animals on Earth. So now let's check out the ending. Did the writer let's see what the writer finished with. Did they write an ending? Whales, but a very big one. Whales are the greatest. Okay, so they also ended his writing with an opinion here. So I'm going to go ahead and check off on the rubric that they had a lead and that they wrote an ending. All right, so next I notice that the writer is telling different parts about the topic on different pages, which in first grade is equivalent to transitions, told different parts about her topic on different pages. I see on the first page, this writer, who's writing all about whales, this first page pretty much focuses on the size of the whale and what they eat. The second page, because I'm looking at the pictures too, this is really describing what the whale looks like, the color of the whale. And on the third page of the writing, called blowholes, this writer is describing the use of the blowhole and showing it in the picture as well. Okay, so if I look back to my rubric, the writer told different parts about her topic on different pages. So I'm going to go ahead and check off that they're meeting first grade expectations for transitions, and I'm going to look at organization. The writer told about her topic part by part. Yes, the writer did do that across pages. Each page was about a different part. So I'm going to go ahead and check off that they did great with that too. Okay, so next I'm going to move on to overall. The writer taught her readers about the topic. Also, I'm going to check that piece of the rubric as well. Moving on to development. Development is where we sometimes see probably the biggest range of skills, which in development includes elaboration and craft. So let me go back and look first at elaboration. The writer put facts in his writing to teach about the topic. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the writing and look at the facts. Whales are the biggest animals on Earth. Fact. The biggest whale is the blue whale. Fact. They eat krill, the smallest animals on Earth. Okay, they eat krill. Fact. And I love here that they put the smallest animals on Earth. So what a contrast between their first sentence here, which was whales are the biggest animals, contrasted against the krill that's the smallest animals. I think you should get extra credit for that. Okay, keep moving along on elaboration. looking for facts. Whales can be gray with white tummies, okay, fact. Or with blue tops and white tummies, okay, fact, probably learned that in a book. Moving on to the third page, blowholes help with breathing, fact. It shoots out water, that's what the blowhole does, fact. It's like a water fountain. Okay, so here, that wasn't a fact that he put in there. This was actually a comparison, which is actually a second grade skill, but a very big water fountain. Okay, so again, a comparison. And then there's his ending there. So I would say, looking back at the rubric, the writer put facts in his writing to teach about a topic. Definitely there. And I'm going to go up a little bit because he included a fact, or, facts and comparison, and also used that contrast with acryl. I'm going to see what the second grade skills are. The writer used different kinds of information in his writing, such as facts, details, steps, tips, definitions. So I would say definitely he had details in there, he had facts in there, and comparison isn't mentioned, but I know that that is a strategy that's taught, introduced actually in first, taught more specifically in second. So I'm going to say that for elaboration, this particular child is really going above his grade level skill strategies. Okay, let's move on to craft. The writer used labels and words to give facts. So again, as I talked before, the writer did not put labels in his pictures, but I really feel like he did a good job explaining in enough detail and facts that covered what he represented in the pictures. So for that, I would say that he's on level. Looking down to be sure, the writer told, drew, and wrote some details about the topic. That's absolutely true. So I would definitely say that he's beyond the kindergarten level. And then I'm going to look up. The writer tried to include words that showed he was an expert on the subject. And that word expert, the expert words that I find in this child's writing related to whales, the word blowholes, breathing. He used krill over here. He named a specific kind of whale that's one of the largest whales on Earth. So I'm going to say that he's kind of operating, even though he didn't get labels, I felt like his details matched his pictures, but he also dipped into using some expert words. So I would say he's perhaps mid-level here, could use some reteaching with some labels and so forth. So moving on to conventions now. In conventions for first grade, the writer, let's hop to this part here. The writer spelled word wall words right and used the word wall to help him spell other words. So looking across his writing, I definitely see evidence of word wall words spelled correctly. Like, are, the, it's, can, with, and. We have over here is, are, they, eat. Lots of evidence of word wall words spelled correctly, a couple of misspellings. But overall, I feel like they're doing a good job with word wall words. The writer used all he knew about chunks. There is some evidence of this writer using chunks in their writing. Tops is an example, had the op word chunk in it. There's actually also some evidence of some long vowel patterns, AY and gray, EA and eat. But really, I'm going to go with, for determining whether he's on level for that, I'm going to think about what I've already taught this writer up until this point and use that as my determination to figure out if the writing represents what I've taught them. So for the purpose of the video, I can't comment too much on that, but I do see evidence of this. So my gut tells me that they're pretty much on level. Looking to punctuation. The writer ended sentences with punctuation. Yes, there's evidence of that on every page. The writer used capital letter for names. The only evidence that I saw as an example of that particular strategy or skill is in this sentence. The biggest whale is the blue whale. And notice that the blue whale, if that's a proper name for the whale, it was not capitalized. And that's the only example that I could find. The writer used commas, dates, and lists. This writing didn't lend itself to using that particular skill, so I'm going to look down here to make sure that he's covering the skills here. The writer wrote spaces between words, yes, very easy to read. The writer used lowercase letters unless capitals were needed. And this is where I see evidence that they're not reaching this skill. There's a lot of extra capital letters where they don't belong, so I would definitely reinforce those skills. And the writer wrote capital letters to start every sentence. And yes, there is evidence of that. So if I were to give this child a score on the rubric in the area of punctuation, I see some evidence from kindergarten skills, and I see a little bit of evidence from the first grade skills, so I'd probably give them a mid-level skill score for that particular area. So, So as you can see, this child, in looking at this writer as a whole, I'd say that they're pretty solid in their first grade writing skills and strategies, with probably some room to grow in the area of craft. They seem to have some strategies in several that cross several layers of the continuum. And that's it. I hope this helped as a review for how to analyze student work, and you have fun today with your student work. Thanks.